Welcome to Dr. Dorian's House of Killers, where we take a look at all your favorite killers and see how they could be implemented into Dead by Daylight. Today, we are going to look at zombies. Zombies don't necessarily have to have a specific franchise. Of course, they could, depending upon, what the devs can work at and if it would be interesting. Now, my take on zombies. As always, we will start with a speed. The speed would be 105%, 4.2 meters per second, but also 110%, 4.4 meters per second, 115%, 4.6 meters per second, and 130%, 5.2 meters per second. The size would be medium. Terror radius would be none, medium, and big. And in case you haven't seen any of my videos before, I feel like a map effect, if there is a killer, should always be there. And I also believe, because why shouldn't a map effect always be there? I think each killer should have at least one or two different types of abilities that they can swap out. And so that the map effect not being there with the killer doesn't give you a clue which power he took with you. It should always be there. That way, okay, it's that killer, but you don't know which specific power did he choose, sort of, just to make it a bit more variant. Okay. Power or map effect in this case would be the Van Helsing wagons again. So you wouldn't be able to just from them know that it's the zombies. But also what in German is called Hügelgräber or burrows. So earth mounds, they wouldn't be too obvious, but earth mounds where people are normally buried under. In this Van Helsing wagon, you would be able to loot a virus or curse, depending upon what the lure would be, why you are infected or where the infection comes from, or if it's an infection or a curse. Freezing drug, so some kind of liquid that would stop you from turning into a zombie, in effect. We'll find out. Power 1, Volve. You evolve or devolve at will. Crawling at 105% movement speed with no terror radius, you can then decide to evolve into a walking speed with 110% movement speed, medium terror radius, and the ability to fast vault or vault faster, as well as break pallets faster than normal killers, and running. And you can evolve into a running speed with 115% movement speed and a big terror radius. So you, in effect, pretty much get a version of, not Bamboozle per se, but something like Bamboozle and Brutal Strength with the medium speed. You have your crawling with no terror radius, and you have a big terror radius, but you are just then an M1 killer, more or less. Of course, you can in chase, switch back to 110%, and then just when there's a loop and vault heavy area, you're a bit slower, but pallets, depending upon how you build it, pallets and vaults just don't slow you down at all anymore. Alternate power 1, Volving. Crawling at 105% with no terror radius, or switching to a spider crawling with 115% movement speed and a medium terror radius. Might be a big terror radius, I'm not sure, because you can't see that well, but they can't see you that well either. So I don't know, I guess it's an up and downside in both ways. Walking with 105% movement speed and 0 terror radius, and a frenzied charge ability, which is explained now. The frenzied charge is a sprint forward at 130% movement speed for 15 seconds with a big terror radius. At the end of the frenzy charge, you have a leap attack. The leap attack lets you leap over pallets or through windows or any vault location in that regard. When you initiate the leap attack, your frenzy charge ends afterwards. Also, when ramming into a drop pallet, your frenzied charge ends. I don't know if you would have, like tokens, like charges, like 3 charges, and you use one up and then you have 2 more to go. If there would be a cooldown on that, or if you just have 1 charge and it resets after a certain amount of time. I feel like charges, like tokens that you can use up would be a good idea, but maybe just 1 charge is enough and you'd have to wait for it to recharge the frenzied charge. Also, if you down a survivor who's dead on hook with the frenzied charge, that is an instant Mori effect. That is called Cannibalize. A special Mori, more or less. Power 2. From the grave. Travel from one Hügelgrab burrows to the next. Power 3. Infection. Survivors become infected after the first attack is received. Infection breaks out after 2 minutes. The drug stops the infection for 2 minutes. 1 drug vial can be held at any time. After the drug effect ends, you automatically take a vial you are holding. If infected while not holding a vial, you use the next vial you pick up right away. So, you start the match off, you go to a Van Helsing wagon, you pick up a vial. You get attacked, you use the vial immediately. You go to the next wagon, you hold it, the effect of the drug runs out, you take the next vial immediately. You go to a wagon, and so on and so forth. Rinse and repeat. You start the match, the killer finds you right away, you don't have a vial, you get attacked. After you escape the chase, or after you're unhooked, you go to a wagon. While going to the wagon, the infection timer starts working. You pick up the vial. It gets used right away. You go to the next wagon, so you have a buffer. You pick up a vial. And once your 2 minutes are up, it gets used again. So then you go back to the next wagon. If you're hooked while under the effect of the drug and you have a vial, you get unhooked. I would say the drug effect doesn't continue while you're on the hook. So you don't have anything to worry about. There is 1 drug vial per wagon on the map. However, they take 30 seconds to respawn in that particular wagon. So if there are, let's say, 4 wagons on the map, then there are 4 vials on the map at that moment where the match starts. Each survivor goes to 1 wagon, picks up 1 vial. But if all go to 1 wagon, then the first one picks up a vial, the next one has to wait 30 seconds to pick up a vial from that wagon, the next one has to wait another 30 seconds to pick up a vial from that wagon, and so on and so forth. Which means in case a wagon does not have a vial, you should probably, or maybe think about going to a different vial, or if there are people standing in line at one wagon, it might be a good idea to go to a different wagon. Also, during chase or while in the terror radius of a killer, the timer does not count down. If a survivor dies through the infection, that survivor is resurrected as a zombie. You can then transport your consciousness into the body of that survivor and control that zombie. Sort of a new spawn point, but sort of like the new killer, the twins. But you can switch between the bodies. Uncontrolled zombies wander around with a speed of 80% movement and swing at survivors that are close by in range, more or less. Perks. Blood storage is the first perk. Bloodlust Tier 1 is stored in tokens after being in Bloodlust for 10 seconds or when reaching Bloodlust 2. Bloodlust tokens can be used to trigger Bloodlust Tier 1 pretty much immediately. You have 2, 3, or 4 tokens that can be stored. Pandemic Infection. Survivors suffer from the broken status effect for 10, 20, or 30 seconds while not in chase. So, the moment you hit a survivor, he's afflicted with pandemic infection. If he escapes the chase, he then has a 30 seconds broken status, or he has a broken status right away. And the countdown goes down after he escapes the chase, you could say. Or when he's unhooked, or whatever. They cough on occasion, which is 25% louder than the pain groans that they normally have. But their normal pain groans are gone because it's more of a wheezing, which is 25% quieter during the infection time. This is only during the infection time. So you have a 10, 20, 30 seconds broken status. You cough 25% louder and wheeze 25% more quiet than pain groans. Then the time runs out. You are just normal injured and everything goes back to normal. Last perk, Hex Delusion. The survivors think they are sick. One survivor at random is chosen every 60, 45, or 30 seconds. Affected survivors check themselves for 10 seconds. A skill check possible. Checking yourselves immediately interrupts what the survivor was doing. Failing a self-checking skill check makes you scream in terror. Now, remember, all these values that I said are just a guess or an estimation. Things could change or be adjusted. It would be up to the devs to decide what would be good values for whatever. Do you have any suggestions? Do you think something should be added to the Power 1 Volve with different types of crawling and walking? Or do you think something should be added to the alternate Power 1 Volving, which is 2 kinds of crawling, a spider and a normal crawl, and just was normal walking and a charge attack? Do you like the charge? If you have any suggestions to this killer, if you have a suggestion for a killer, or if you want to discuss anything that I have in any of my the House of Killer videos, please pop into my Twitch stream. I stream Monday, Tuesday, and every other Wednesday and Friday. Or tweet at me on Twitter, write it in the comments below. That was always appreciated. Give this video a thumbs up. You know, the usual stuff. And until next time. Oh, right. Before I forget, there is a channel called Spoiled Fruit Productions that does something very similar to me. They do a series called What If, where they look at different types of, killer and survivor and map locations. They're really good. I can highly recommend them. For video games, so they have already Haunting Ground, I think it was. They have a Resident Evil Code Veronica. They have the Clock Tower, which is great. I might visit these games myself with a killer take on it, but check them out. I will have the What If playlist linked below. I will have their channel linked below. They are a small YouTube channel. Check them out in case you don't know them. And other than that, I wish you the best of luck. Till next time. Toodles.